Hey guys, welcome to Spirit Pig. I'm Duncan CJ, and today I'm talking to Kirk Brown. Kirk Brown is the centre teacher at Dharmadeepa Meditation Centre and is one of the world's leading authorities on Vipassana meditation. Is that correct pronunciation?
Vipassana.
Vipassana.
Yep.
Vipassana means to see things as they really are, and is one of India's most ancient techniques of meditation. And this technique goes back all the way back to Buddha 2,500 years ago, and was taught by him as a remedy for all universal ills. This is a technique, and it's non-religious, and so it can be used by people from all cultures and backgrounds, and its aim is for the complete removal of mental impurities and to result in a person's full liberation and happiness. How was that? Did I kind of get that right, or am I way off the mark?
Say any more, Duncan. Well, that's brilliant. Yeah.
I thought I'd do my research, but I was like, I'm going to ask. I might have just completely maybe summarised that too much, or... But I mean, that was a bit of a brief intro. But could you maybe just explain in a bit more detail what is Vipassana meditation?
Yeah, well, you said it. Vipassana means insight. It's the Pali language that the Buddha spoke in, and it's a simple technique, if we want to call it a technique, of looking inside ourselves and seeing the truth inside. It's a sort of progressive technique. You start with the most obvious reality about yourself when you close your eyes and sit down and start looking inside. You start to be aware of the breath coming in and going out, and then you stay with that truth, and you're developing your concentration like that. And then we start. That's the first 3.5 days are done like that, and then after 3.5 days practice of that, you develop the Vipassana, where you start to introspect the whole entire mind-body phenomena.
Just to jump in really quickly, these just to sort of summarise, these they can be obviously done. They've been much longer for weeks and weeks, but to get a basic grounding, you go to a 10-day retreat where you stay there, and it's a full. You could probably jump straight in. This isn't just like an hour meditation after work on your commute. This is a full experience, isn't it?
It's an intensive course, very intensive course, and it's a commitment and a discipline for 10 days. You have to want to do it. You have to be committed to come and work hard. You get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. 4:30 to 6:30 is the first session of meditation. You have breakfast 6:30 to 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock to 11 is the next session. 11 till 1 is lunchtime. 1 till 5 in the afternoon, meditation. An hour at tea time. Then 6 till 9, 3 hours in the evening, including a talk by our principal teacher, who's now recently deceased, but S.N. Gwenka. So
that's 10 hours in a day. This is
12 hours. I would say probably 12 hours of meditation, but that's not all necessarily just sitting on your bottom. You can go and take a walk and lie down for 5-10 minutes, lean against the wall in your room, sort of have a bit of another walk, and then there are various sessions actually in the meditation hall itself. But other times people can work at a more relaxed way in their own rooms or that sort of thing.
One of the reasons why I was so keen to talk to you, because two separate friends, one from the UK, one from California, both completely independently. I was having separate conversations with them, probably about 6 months apart. And again and again, like both times, this came up. And I think they both independently said, they don't even know each other, but they said it is one of the hardest things they have ever done in their life. But it is also one of the most rewarding things they've ever done.
That's right. That's a very, very common statement by people at the end of the course, and it's because you have to put a lot into it that you get a lot out of it. I mean, it's basic life principle, isn't it? The students have to work hard. The whole structure of the course is designed to allow the students to work hard. It's in silence, so you're not talking to anybody else, you're not gesturing to anybody else. You talk to the teacher conducting the course.
So 10 days of silence, and then introspection, actually like focusing inside rather than, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So
And
you know
that's called
that
the what's it called? It's called the noble silence. Is that correct?
noble silence, yes, is what they're doing for those 10 days. On the 10th day, they break the silence. They learn the final technique of meditation, which is metta bhavana, the practice of loving kindness, sharing all the merits that the students have felt, that they've accrued during the 10 days, and the purification of the mind that they've got. Because people do feel, like often they feel like a deep cleansing has occurred in that period, and at the end they feel profound. For most people, I would say it seems they feel a profound experience. They've taken part in a profound experience, and they have a lot of goodwill for other people, which they feel like sharing. So this practice of metta, and then after that, they are free to talk for that final day, and it's like a bit of a buffer before going out into the real world again, because they're a little bit sensitive at the end. And you need to sort of come down from that. And so that last day, day 10, they have a chat and talk to each other.
I mentioned in the introduction, but it'd be worth maybe just reiterating again. So this is, obviously 2,500 years ago, Buddha, but this is non-sectarian. I mean, this is completely people from all around the world, different cultures, different religions. Even if you are religious, even if you're not religious, it makes no difference. This is a technique, isn't it? Not a religion.
Well, the Buddha didn't teach a religion.
Yeah.
He taught a path to come out of suffering. He wasn't interested in starting a sect that people could join, and differentiate one human from another. That he wasn't interested in that. So it was just a matter of showing how it is. What is our problem as humans? What is our condition? Why do we keep getting into such a mess? Why do we muck up our lives so much? Why do we suffer? Basically, these very, very fundamental question. So he found out the answer, and he shared the way that he'd got there with others. And this is the path that we're following. The Shila Samadhi Panya is basically the path that he gave us.
I'm sorry.
This tradition that we're in believes that it has kept that technique as pure as possible. It's been handed down from teacher to pupil and so on for these 2,500 years. The whole emphasis has been to keep it as absolutely pure as possible, so that nothing is added and nothing is taken away from it. Because the Buddha, being an enlightened person, taught a complete therapy. So, it wasn't something that we need to add to it or something to be taken away. So it's as far as we believe, it's as near as possible what the Buddha actually taught.
That's awesome. And as another thing, I was reading a personal development. I googled it, and I was reading people's experiences, articles, and one was this guy who he's got a personal development blog, and he has been talking about personal development. He's been on courses and trainings forever, and a quote which jumped out. He said, I learned more in those 10 days than I learned in years of studying and writing about inner transformation, himself. And what kind of transformation do you see? Like, what are some of the positive benefits that you've seen just in...
The main thing really is that you're developing an inner strength inside, which will help you in all the ups and downs of life. And this is equanimity. And it's a sense of balance and peace that is not dependent on this experience or that experience or this type of pleasant sensation or this type of unpleasant sensation, but is dependent on this understanding that life keeps on changing, that everything keeps on changing, because this is the experience that one has during Vipassana, during this introspection of the mind-body phenomena. You start to experience the whole mind and body just as a changing mass of vibrations. First of all, when we start the investigation inside, things manifest more in a more solidified type of way. But as you keep on meditating, all this sort of solidity starts to get dissolved, to some extent. And this helps you understand that there's no purpose in identifying yourself so much and attaching yourself to so much to this changing phenomena. So the attachment to things decreases, and you can just allow things to come and to go. You can live more in the present moment. You can enjoy the present moment much more in a fuller way, but let things come and go. And not be bothered by all the ups and downs, because they're going to pass from your own inner experience. So I would say the equanimity is the biggest advantage, the biggest gain that you can get, this inner peace and inner strength of mind.
That's interesting, because I was going to say that one thing I was going to maybe just reference later, but you brought it up there, was this idea of dealing with impermanence and change, and actually not holding on. So when things are happening in our life, good things, bad things, especially bad things, I guess, often we want to try and stop change, don't let things change.
Exactly.
But to actually realize that in life, things, there's suffering, impermanence, and removing the ego, is that a big part of it? Actually just taking the ego out of it?
Absolutely. I mean, all the negative, the idea really is to eradicate the negativities, the complexes, the conditionings that we've made in our lives. And so little by little, the negativities get eradicated, because the technique is such that we try to stop putting any new input in. And once you stop putting any new input in, the old complexes and conditionings start to arise naturally in the mind, and they pass away during the course of the meditation. So it's a process of purification of the conditionings of the mind, of the negative conditionings of the mind. And gradually the mind becomes purer, because the mind really by nature is pure, and as the negativities of the mind are eradicated, more of that purity shines through. Had a very interesting email from a girl recently she'd done one course at Dharmadeepa in Hereford, I think last year, and she wrote to say that she'd been to Bangladesh working on a humanitarian mission there of some sort, and she'd been out in a remote area of Bangladesh, and she'd had some traumatic accident, injury to her throat. I'm not quite sure the exact injury, but it was a life-threatening injury, and she had grave difficulty breathing, and they had to get her to the hospital for treatment. And she turned to her Vipassana, because in these difficult times, this is when the test really comes, isn't it? If you've got something that really is going to support you. She turned to her Vipassana, started practicing the meditation, observing the sensations on her body and her respiration, and trying to remain balanced and calm and equanimous to all of that. And she felt, first of all, a little bit anxious, understandably, because she was in a life-threatening situation, and it was very painful to breathe. And she said she felt she had a very powerful meditation for hours, and she felt a deep peace, during that period, which she feels really, saved her life, basically, kept her anxiety levels down and all of that. So, like that, certainly helps people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said that, well, it's this idea of you kind of referred to it earlier, but kind of this idea of freedom from misery. And so is that kind of what it's about? Like, so rather than trying to achieve happiness or fulfillment and going after something, it's more about eliminating and moving away from actually what's causing us suffering and pain.
Yeah, I mean, the whole technique is to learn how to be aware in the present moment, how to accept the reality as it is.
Yeah.
Rather than the imaginary reality that we want or that we crave for. It's to do with craving and aversion, the technique, to understand that as soon as we start craving for something that we don't have, or start to have aversion to something that we do have, we can't actually be happy in the present moment. And this is what keeps us very tense, this push-pull, this sort of dichotomy between, trying to push out this or trying to bring in this. We can't be content with what we have. And of course, our life is only made up of the present moment. We have to try to learn a way of being in the present moment contentedly. So this is the technique. And from our own experience, we see that as soon as we have any aversion or craving, we're miserable because we're not content in the present moment. So that's a very important aspect here.
As one nowadays, which is, I think this is an amazing thing because it obviously shows that there's sort of a shift, or it's kind of moving in a really positive direction. But there's so many sort of different types of meditations, mindfulness practices. There's iPhone apps, like you type in like mindfulness meditation into your iPhone, and there's, rather than just one or two, there's hundreds to choose from. Like, what kind of two-part question? Like, what is sort of different about Vipassana, and why would I encourage, or why would you encourage somebody to maybe go choose this one, as opposed to another, or is it's more, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're doing anything, then it's already like an amazing positive difference to then not. But I mean, it's almost now overwhelming how many different choices there are. Like, what kind of is different about it, I guess I'm trying to say?
I think it's very authentic. As we said, you have to work. It's not for somebody that wants a quick fix. It's and actually, the 10 days is a wonderful insight into how the mind works, how we work, how our minds and body relate to each other, keep on influencing each other. But it's really a lifelong path. You get the benefit out of the 10 days, definitely, but to have it in its true benefits, it's a lifelong path. So people can come and try, see what they get out of the 10 days, and at the end of it, they decide. They might think, right, I want to go and try some other things. It may not suit everybody. People have different goals, don't they?
Yeah,
but the goal of Vipassana is, should be clear, is to purify the mind of all of the conditionings. It's not a sort of quick fix on things, or it's not a matter of just coming and getting high, getting this blissful experience. Blissful experiences do come, of course, during the course of meditation, but it's not to get a blissful experience necessarily. It's to understand, how this suffering keeps originating, and to come out of our suffering little by little at a very deep level of the mind, and in a deep, meaningful way. And
go almost straight for, rather than always looking at the symptoms and just try and get a quick fix, actually identifying the root cause of a lot of this unhappiness, and then once you can go straight to the root, it's actually a lot more transformative long term. Yeah, it's very much to go to the root of the problem. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Amazing. And there's a couple of speed round questions to finish off. What does a fulfilled life mean to you? I think to investigate the truth about ourselves, and to spend a large part of our life in making an investigation into what it's all about. Why we're here, what's the purpose of life, what is the meaning of life, and how to come out of to understand ourselves, and to come out of any suffering that we're engaged in is and if we can do that, then I think that's we feel fulfilled, we feel contented about that. That's great, thanks. And what is one thing our listeners can do today that will have a massive positive effect on their lives? Well, they can think about doing a Vipassana course. They're very welcome. There's 10-day courses that they can think if they would like to make that commitment and practice. That's probably because it's an experiential thing. You have to look inside is very important. So perhaps if they don't feel like doing a 10-day Vipassana course, they can just start looking inside a little bit, because most of our life is spent looking outside, isn't it? And we there's so many interesting things to see outside, but it's just as important to look inside and see what's going on, I would say. So start looking inside. Close your eyes
and see what's going on. And that's what Vipassana is, really.
I think one thing also great to add to that is that often, you can have these things and it seems like everything's got the best intentions, and then suddenly you get whacked with like some crazy price or bill. Like Vipassana it's free. There's no charge. There's not even charge, which is crazy. There's no even charge for food or accommodation. And all the teachers completely volunteer their time freely, and it's all done through donations. So people who've already previously been on courses actually help other people get that experience, this sort of pay it forward thing. So I think that shows amazing about actually the authenticity of a lot of this thing, because often some people preach one thing and then suddenly there seems a bit of a disconnect, but this is free, isn't it?
May or not be a lot of old nonsense, but if it is, nobody's going to make any money out of you. That's for sure. So it's not a thing to make money out of. Spiritual aspirations, I don't think. Nobody who's involved with Vipassana is doing it for those reasons. And as you say, all the courses are free. Donations, people can give a donation if they like. There's no pressure at the end to give a donation, but people are welcome to give a donation to enable another student to come and do it in the future. And it keeps it a very, very pure place and very pure intentions. All the people that come to serve, each course they come to serve with that volition to help others, and they don't get anything for it. All the cooks and the people that help all the students in all those ways. So, yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And so, even if somebody doesn't have a penny to their name, they're completely, hard on their lot. There's no barriers of entry even for people who don't have a penny. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And are there any books or resources which have changed or had a big impact on you?
Well, I mean, as a young man, I read quite a few books, but I can't really say that there's one standout book, because Vipassana is very much an experiential experience, and this is what is important in life, to have your own experience by looking inside. So it's only that at that level that anything is really going to work. You can read all the books and you can understand intellectually, but unless you are prepared to make that investigation inside and understand something from your own experience, then the books are not so important, really, to me. But yeah.
Absolutely, because it's through direct experience. Because I suppose, like, if you're always theorizing or something, then I guess it's always something outside. You're always chasing something, and it's almost missing the point, isn't it?
It's not an intellectual. Vipassana is not an intellectual exercise, not at all. It's very much an experiential exercise. There is a theory, of course, that goes with it. And that theory is explained to some extent in the evening talks, but that's more to explain why we're practicing in a certain way, and people are free to have any belief they like about their own experience. Of course, it's their investigation into the truth inside, and if people come up with some belief about this, that, and the other, they're free to have that belief. So we don't want to quarrel about beliefs at all. It's not important, is it, really, what you believe? It's a matter of what sort of person you are. If you've an angry person, it's important to come out of that anger, or if you're a depressed person, to come out of that depression, or anxiety, to come out of the anxiety, and that's what Vipassana helps people to do. So
that's awesome. And finally, where can we send people? Because I know you're based in Herefordshire in the UK, but we've got an international audience. So is it the .org site? Is that the best place, or and find your local centre?
Dharma.org. Yeah, they can get information about Vipassana in all the different regions and the different places of the world. Yeah.
Perfect. And there's centres all around the globe, aren't there?
Yeah, there's about 160 or 70 meditation centres, and other courses are held outside those centres. So, yeah, people should be able to find somewhere fairly near them if they're interested, yeah.
Amazing, fantastic. And I'll put that in the show notes.
Great.
Kirk, thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking to us today. It's been fantastic, and I've learned a huge amount. So thank you for giving up your evening. I know you're extremely busy, and it's been absolutely brilliant. I really appreciate it. Nice to talk to you, Duncan. All the best, and I hope to see you at Dharmadeepa sometime. I'll be there. I know. We have to get you back on after we've experienced it. Thanks so much. Nice to talk to you. Bye bye, Duncan.